Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Drake Council on Aging tutorial. I'm Joan Turner, the resident artist at the Drake Council on Aging, and today we are doing birch trees. Let me find my birch trees. Here they are. Okay, this is what we're painting today, right? So if you do not have this copy, and for those of you who have seen the tutorials, have been following around for the last 20,000 of them, I apologize for the repetition, but for those who do not know, maybe this is their first time, this is what we're going to do. You can get this picture, you can get a still life of it here, I guess, if you can print it on your computer and all that good stuff. There should be a copy on your newsletter, both the physical newsletter and the electronic newsletter that you get on your email, in your email. Okay, so this is what we're going to paint today. And so what you will need is a canvas. Okay, this is the canvas I'm going to use. Now you might see a little bit of a shadow of another painting underneath. This is what I call a repurposed canvas. So if you have been following along and maybe have a picture or a canvas that you're not excited about, or you just don't like the way it came out, you just want to repurpose it, just paint right over it. Okay, if you have gesso, you can gesso over it. If not, no problemo, just white paint over it. And typically, I would put 2 coats of white paint on here to kind of cover that little ghostly, shadowy thing, especially if someone else is going to use it, because it might kind of throw them off or be a distraction at least. So, um, but I am used to the repurposed canvases, so I would be okay with it. Okay, so you will need a canvas. Any size canvas is okay. If you have a DCOA kit, art kit, you will have either a 16 by 20 or a 9 by 12 board or canvas. All right, anything is okay. You can paint on a piece of wood if you want, okay? You can do anything. All right, so if you have a kit, you have the 3 basic primary colors, which are red, uh, let's try that again, which are red, yellow, and blue. Okay, so those are your 3 primary colors, and you should also have some black and white. So you need at least those colors, and from those 3 primary colors, you can make all different kinds of colors. Okay, if you want to make green, you can mix yellow and blue. If you want to make purple, you can mix red and blue. That will give you purple. Brown would be green and red. Um, so you can make all kinds of colors out of those 3 primary colors, and of course, black will always kind of gray the color, and if you have a brown, that will dust the color, and of course, the white will lighten it. Okay, so you really have a lot of really have a lot of play there. Okay, so you want your paint, okay, and with those 3 primary colors, also some white. You're probably not going to need this much, but I truly do. All right, have some paper towels nearby, and I did mention white and black. White and black paint. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting that. Have to look at the screen in order for you to hear me. Okay. Great videographer. I am not. Okay. So you do need a black and white along with the 3 primary colors. Get yourself some paper towels. You will need small, medium, and large brushes. And for these little twiggy guys in here, up and through here, see them? You're going to need a fine brush, and the way I make these really fine brushes is I take an old brush that I'm probably not going to use too much, and I cut like all the little hairs off of it, and just leave like maybe 4 or 5 hairs on it. So I get a very fine pointed brush. Okay, or you get a detail brush. Okay, so a lot of you are adding to uh, your kits on your own. This came from the dollar store, and it is acrylic paint. Okay, so it's small. It's 4 ounces. It's only $1. Okay, so if you're going to the dollar store, you have someone who's going to the dollar store. I think they're available at most of them. The other kind of paint that I got at the dollar store were these tube type of paints, which actually work out pretty good for dotting, for mandala dotting type thing. But these acrylic paints are a little bit heavier. So I'm going to say if you have a choice between the two, you get this one. But they're both only $1, right? And this one's only 3 ounces. This one's 4. So you're actually getting more for your dollar. Okay, so just a little tip if you're trying to add to your paint collection and you don't want to spend like mega bucks because you're just starting out or you're just having fun or experimenting, whatever that may be. If in fact you've gotten so good that you want really good paints, go with Amsterdam, okay, which is a really awesome paint. And then there's Artist Loft, which is very reasonable. Then there's a paint. The name of the paint is called Basics, which I thought I had one here, but I do not. The other one is Premier. Okay, they're all kind of student grade, but they're kind of good student grade. But like I said, at the very least, you can add to your collection with at the dollar store. And they have all different colors. Okay, this is a pink. All right, and you can make pink certainly by mixing red and white, which you do have in your kit, right? But I also have green and brown and black. Okay, so it's a really inexpensive way to add to your kits. Right, cotton swabs. Who knew cotton swabs would be so important in life? I'm trying to get them open. Okay, so these cotton swabs are actually cosmetic cotton swabs. They have a little point on them. And that's because people use them to apply their makeup with them. So they have a little bit of a point where you might need one. So these cotton swabs are not in with the regular cotton swabs. These are actually in with the cosmetics. So you guys, if you're having a hard time finding them, ask your wife because women know everything. Okay, in case you didn't know that, I just thought I'd put that in there. All righty. Okay, so we have that. You need water. Okay, so don't put your water in a paper or a plastic cup because you'll end up drinking it. You'll be so focused on your picture and so on and so forth. You're busy, you get thirsty, you pick it up, and then you go. And uh, most of these, especially this little guy, okay, is non-toxic. So I use it for like little kids, my niece and stuff who wants to paint. So these are non-toxic, so it wouldn't kill you, but you don't want to drink the paints at all. You need a palette or 2 or 3, okay? So I'm using a paper plate. A plastic lined paper plate is even better. You could use real palette paper, which kind of is like paper that has kind of a waxy finish on it. But paper plates work fine for me because after you're done, you don't have to clean anything up. You just flip them. Okay. So if you use a real palette, you have to clean it. And they also have disposable palettes, which are pretty much the same thing. They're kind of paper with a waxy surface, and then when you're done, you just tear them off and throw them away. To be honest with you, if you're budgeting, paper plates are less expensive. Okay, so let us, did I skip anything here? Okay, so we have a canvas. You don't necessarily need an easel. Okay, an easel, they come in different shapes and sizes, and it's to rest the canvas on. You don't need one. I'm going to use one just because I think it will be easier for everyone to see what I'm doing. Okay, so we have our picture, we have our paints, we have our brushes, we have our palette, we have water, um, Q-tips in case we need them. The only other must-have is your hot cocoa. Don't try to paint without it. You need hot cocoa. All that chocolate is darker. The darker the chocolate, the better it is for you. And it's very energizing and warming and soothing. And I just like it. So there. Okay. So let us begin. So let's begin by putting our paint out, and let me reposition you. Okay. So one of the questions I get all the time is how do you decide how you're going to hold the canvas? Am I going to give it a horizontal layout or a vertical layout? Okay, so a vertical layout is tall. Horizontal is from side to side. Okay, so one of the things that see a hair over here. Wait, thank you, thank you. One of the ways that I decide is just by the layout itself. If I were going to draw this bottle, it's kind of a tall object. I would hold the canvas that way. Um, we are, if it were, if I were going to draw something horizontal like this, horizontal, I would hold the canvas like that. Okay. So we're going to do a horizontal because this is a horizontal layout. Okay, see? Horizontal, horizontal. Okay, and keep this nearby because you'll want to check it for reference, especially because, as I'm going along, I'm kind of following that, and you can follow that too. Yeah, okay, she's doing the sky, she's doing the snow, so on and so forth. Okay, so let's put the paint out on our palettes. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is put some white, right? And we're going to work from the back forward always. So we're going to do this sky first, and then these really kind of dusty bluish green trees in the background here. And we're just going to keep working forward. So for our sky, we need white. We're going to need a little bit of yellow because it's a very faint yellow in that background, which is good because there it goes. There it goes. Okay, so this the paint, if it dries on the top of there, it gets kind of a tough skin. Just pull it off, okay? And that's why it was hard to open because it dries in there. Okay, so I don't want to put too much out here. I'm going to put just a little. Um, Let me see. You can see my palette better. Ta-da! There it is. So just a little bit of yellow, kind of a lot of white, right? And then there's some red or pink in the sky. Okay, so you can use red or you can use pink. And this again is one of those little dollar store pinks. So I'm going to just a little dab will do me. Because again, it's a very pale pink. Okay, so I'm actually going to open this up and get what I hoped was a little bit of pink. So I'm going to take one of my Q-tips here and get a little bit of this pink out and onto my palette. Okay. So don't water down your paints, especially these dollar store paints. They're already pretty thin. This one here has been around for a while, so I have a feeling it's just a little bit dried out. But see how loose it still is, even though it didn't want to kind of drip out of the container. Okay, so we have yellow, white, pink. I think, I think we're ready to rock and roll, baby. Okay, so I'm going to use my large brush. And the reason that I'm choosing my largest brush is because I want to get a nice, smooth, even coat on here. So I'm going to start off with just the white. Actually, I'm going to start off with our cocoa. And put it here. And if I didn't tell you, have paper towels nearby. Have paper towels nearby. You will use quite a few of them. Okay, so I'm going to get my canvas in the screen as much as possible. And I'm kind of painting sideways here. So bear with me a little bit. I wonder, I should mark a spot on this table, which would be good for you to see. Let's try that. That could work. It's going to be here. So it's kind of a weird angle here. But anyway, anywho, so I'm going to take my white and I'm going to dip my brush in the white. Okay. And then halfway, I'm going to go halfway with this white. So I'm picking up the white and I'm using broad, nice broad strokes here. Okay, nice, smooth, broad strokes. Coming up. Okay, and this is not dollar store white paint, so it's a little on the thicker side. So even though I repurposed this canvas, now you can no longer see what's underneath it because this paint is pretty thick. Okay, now you're going to see that I'm doing my sides and edges as well. Now, what this does for me, the advantage to doing this is if you have a canvas board, then to display it, you're going to most likely have to frame it. If you have a stretched canvas, the stretched canvas is a canvas that is stretched around a wooden frame like this and then stapled onto the back of it. So if you in fact have one of these, um, you have the option of framing or not framing. However, if you decide that you're going to display this as it is, you will want the picture to continue off the sides. Okay, all right, so yes, nice and even here, please. Nice and even. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go over this again, make sure it's nice and smooth here. There we go. There we go. All right. So now I have this nice smooth background with these little divots in it. I'm not sure why. Okay. So I kind of took them off there. I'm just cleaning off the brush. I'm not putting it in the water because I want it to see here. Okay. So straightening all this out a little bit where I kind of pulled the little, I don't know, maybe dry paint on this. Okay. So now, if I look at this picture, again, there's a little bit of pink, a little bit of yellow. So I'm still using my big brush. I'm just going to dip the corner of my brush in here, and I'm going to just mix it right here on the canvas. Right, so I have a little bit of a yellow tint here. Okay, I'm going to dip a little bit more in. So my white paint is still wet enough, and acrylic paints dry relatively fast, so you don't want to putz around too much with this, with getting the white on there. Okay, so this, and I think kind of go all the way up here. Okay, so you're using your handout as a guide, and I'm even doing the top up here. If you want to make it a little different, no problem with that. Now these a little bit of transparency here. Some of these pictures that we're doing, pictures that I've seen online or something on that idea. So we're actually copying someone else's work, okay? Which technically, is okay for the sake of learning. But if you decide that you're going to sell your work and start mass producing it and making megabucks on someone else's ideas, that's not okay. Okay, so um, so you're going to keep it for yourself. You're learning, so on and so forth. No biggie. Okay. But again, keep in mind that you're doing someone else's artwork, and the way to make it unique is like if I tell my students, if in fact you see something online, it's truly inspiring you, and you're like, oh my God, I really love this, and I want to do something like this. There's a key word, do something like this, because, um, and don't quote me on this, but what I believe and what I have heard is that if you want something to be considered unique, you have to have at least three significant changes. Okay, so for this picture, we could put in an extra birch tree, we could put something else in the sky, that would be two. You might put something in the foreground here. So just to be on the safe side, I tell students, do five. That way, if in fact, you really do want to do something more with the picture, then you have a unique composition. Okay. So, I mean, a wonderful compliment to an artist certainly is the fact that you like something enough to work with it and do it and so on and so forth. But again, we want to give credit where credit is due. Okay, so I'm bringing some yellow over here, which is a little bit of a deviation here. Probably not a major deviation, but a deviation. Only because I like it actually. So I'm going to bring it up here. A lot of sky is just kind of blue, at least when you see them in the pictures, they're just kind of blue. Right? So we want to, at least I would like to, get a little bit of a different sky, which is one of the reasons for being attracted to this picture, um, because it has a different skyline. Okay, so let's do some of this like this. All right, so I have a little bit of yellow here, which I just stuck my finger in. That's okay. And I'm looking at my handout picture. I'm going to put a little bit more pink in here. Pink is one of my favorite colors, in case you have not noticed. Right, so I'm dipping into the white now because that pink is not as pale as I had hoped for. So now, if I put more white in it, see that pales it right out. Okay. Also would like this pink kind of reach over into the yellow so that there's not like this big huge boundary line between the two of them there. Okay. So have all this cool stuff going on over here. I'm gonna do just a little bit more. Sometimes you just don't have enough. Okay, so this looks absolutely marvelous to me. Okay, let's do that. All right, so now I want to do my foreground, which is all this white snow in through here. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to go back and do my trees. So while I have the white on here, I'm just going to take this white, and I'm going to, and I didn't clean off my brush because I thought it would be really cool to bring some of the colors of the sky into my foreground. And I did say to you, work from the back forward. So we could put in our background trees first, but I think this is where I want to go here. So I'm going to, I just painted I just, this has so much paint on it. All right, so I'm going to take and do all of this. I'm going to do all of this white down here. Okay. And it's okay that it has a little bit of pink from my brush going on over there. I'm kind of liking that. And if I look at look out the look at the handout, then you can actually see some of the colors from the sky reflected here. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing while this is still wet. Okay, I'm going to take and put in some of my, and kind of streak this a little bit because I want it to have a little bit of movement here. And again, I'm keeping these really, really light. You can always make them darker if you want to, and there's a very good chance that could happen. Okay, there we go. And I'm also going to get just a teensy bit of yellow going on over here. Just a little hint of color here and there. And like I said, I kind of like the idea of having some of the sky colors in the snow. Okay, so let me see here. I think I need more white already. So I'm going to put more white out on my palette. Okay, that's quite a bit of white. Let's put this back in here. Alrighty. So now you really cannot see any of you can't tell it's a repurposed canvas at all now. There's so much paint on here. Okay, so I'm going to bring this here, kind of going up here. Okay, so I just want what I'm trying to do here is get in some of this layering, effect. So I would like to do that. All right. Okay, so this brush I'm going to put in my water. Okay, if you're not using one of your brushes, um, get a paper towel, clean the excess off so that you're getting off as much as you can, and then put it in the water. Okay, if you let the paint dry on your brush, it'll dry hard. You won't be able to reuse it. Acrylic paints very forgiving. If you don't like what you did, you can just paint right over, let it dry, paint right over it. However, um, if you get them on your clothes or anywhere else, you can pretty much get them off of your clothes and surfaces if you do it while the paint is wet. You can use some like warm soap and water. However, once the paint is dry, it's with you forever. Okay? The only exception to that seems to be like if it's on plastic and you can kind of peel it off. But always cover tables and floors and anything that you really want to protect. Okay, so our next step is we're going to put in these background trees, which are a very light bluish green color. Now remember that I told you that yellow and blue makes green. So if you do not have green, you're going to mix blue and yellow. I have some green, so I'm going to do that. Some more dried paint here. I'm going to put a little bit of yellow. But again, I think it's a very light bluish green back there. And you can look at your own handout. Also, this might be a good time to mention that, different screens, some are calibrated better than others or whatnot. So if your tones are a little bit off, don't worry about it. Again, just makes it more uniquely yours. Okay, so to get these background trees in here, I think we're going to use like a medium brush. If you look way over here on the right, there's this little kind of fuzzy mountain. At least I think that's what it is. I think I'm going to maybe try and put it in there. I'm going to take my medium brush and then another palette, which is just another paper plate. Okay. I'm going to move this one under here. And again, I want it to be very light. So I'm putting some white on my new palette over here. Then I'm picking up just a little bit of the blue. Now, the blue is a really strong color. So you're going to add it very, very little at the time. Now, I just put a little dot of blue in there, and already that is pretty blue. Okay, so now I want it to be a very light bluish green. So I'm going to do the same thing. Just pick up a little bit of green and put it in there. Okay, so what I have here is kind of, for me, a too bright green. So I'm going to actually take and add some brown to it. Now, if you don't have brown, add a little red to it because red and green makes brown, and we already kind of have a minty green. So, so we want to add a little brown to it to kind of get a little bit of a dusty look. Other thing I want to say to you is, again, the brown or the blue, it's going to be a darker color, a stronger color. So when you go to mix them, always just use a little bit of the darker color in here. This is kind of a nice muted kind of a green, which is more what I'm looking for the background trees here. Okay, so these are my background trees, and that little mountain has a little bit more of a bluish hue to it. So I'm going to pick up just a little bit of the blue and do that part over here. Okay, see how little is on my brush? And I'm not really adding a lot of paint to here because, again, it's kind of very subliminal back here. Okay, so I'm going to go just about halfway here and come down and bring my mountain here. This little mountain area right here. Okay, I'm going to pick up some white and right on my canvas, put some white in there. And so I'm actually mixing my paint right on my canvas. Okay, right all the way down here. And this is kind of fuzzy and kind of in the background a little bit. So I'm going to make it really kind of merge into that background. Okay, so I kind of like this to do this, kind of come up here to about here. So I'm doing, besides talking to myself, give myself a guideline, okay, which is this line right here, because I want to know, how much snow, okay. So here's my little mountain way off into the background, and maybe even going to add a little bit more blue to it over here. So it really kind of fades off a little bit more. Okay, and don't forget, we're going to have maybe, we're definitely going to have some trees here, so not a lot of detail. Don't forget to do your sides, however. All right, so here's doing my side, just in case. Okay, bringing this up here a little bit. I do a little bit more white here and there to really just kind of fade it out even more. Okay, because we really, really want to mush it into the background a little bit more. Okay. All right. So there is a little bit of mushy mountain. Gonna do just a little tad of a little bluer up here. just to give it a little bit of interest here. Okay, so now I'm going to take the excess off my brush. Now I'm going to go ahead and put in my background trees. Now these background trees, the ones that I'm talking about are these. Okay, these really light, ghosty, bluish ones. So there's actually here, here, and there's one way over here. So we're actually going to go ahead and put them all in. Okay, and I'm going to use the same brush, and I'm going to use this really light, greenish, bluish color that I have going on here. Right, I'm going to actually hang on to this, I think, and I'm going to start. Oh, there's actually one way over here, which is kind of cool. So I'm going to put that in, and I'm going to use the tip of my brush just to kind of make a very loose tree shape. Okay, so let me bring the canvas in kind of close so you can see what I did there. Okay, so just a very loose tree type of a shape. And then on the other side of the mountain here, so it's kind of hard to hold this and paint at the same time, but I'm going to try it anywho. Okay, so we have another tree here, and I'm being very, very sketchy at this point. Okay, so I'm going to dip my brush back into the paint, and I want this top to be nice and thin, but then I'm going to kind of really kind of sketchy get this out here. Okay, and these trees are, I'm going to put this here because my tree is coming out drunk. Let me see if I can get it closer. These trees actually, it takes, believe it or not, a little bit of practice to kind of get the shape of these. I have many students who really kind of agonize over, they're kind of A-shaped, but I think they're pine trees, you know, being the great outdoorsman that I am, I'm going to say they're pine trees. So I'm thinking that's this one here. So now there's a kind of a little one beside it, and do you need to follow this exactly? Absolutely not. Okay, so I'm putting very small kind of guidelines in here. And then we're gonna get this brush and I'm just tapping in those trees. Now, be careful not to make lines, all right? Some people, they do a midline, like they'll do a midline here, and then they'll go like this and like this. Oops, I put my brush in the wrong thing. So then they'll do like this and this and this and this. And I'll tell you something. It really looks kind of weird to your eye. Okay. So what you want to do is kind of load your brush here. And I'm going to put even a little bit more white in here, like this. And you kind of want to load this brush and put the top here, but then we just kind of dabbing, and I'm absolutely dabbing over that middle line. I mean, you might want to see a little something going on in the middle there, but absolutely, don't don't make a line there. The trees are not lines. Okay, so let's go ahead and get that tree. And trees get wider as they go through the bottom. They're not tube shaped. I mean, they might, you could kind of consider them a little bit tube shaped, but they're mostly cone shaped. Okay, so here's our kind of background trees, and if you have too much kind of shown in here, just dab them a little bit. Don't overwork your trees. I find that there's a tendency to overwork those guys. Okay, so we have this tree, this tree, this tree, this tree. There's another little guy kind of over here. And truth is that you can put in as many or as few trees as you want to. Okay, so I'm gonna tap these guys in over here like this. Okay, so now I have another tree over here. this one, let's give it a little bit more shape at its top. There we go. That was better, Joan. All right. So now I'm sure there's more trees back here, but I'm going to kind of focus on this big one over here, right back here, because it comes almost to the top, and then here. And we don't have we don't have a lot of definition here at all, okay? Because this one is really, really faded into the background. So, I mean, I could actually pick up maybe a little bit more white here and then just really, really fade this guy, okay? So again, don't overwork your trees, especially the ones in the background because they're background trees. They almost want to kind of fade into the background a little bit. So if you want to, if you feel like they're too bright, put a little bit more white there. But you can do that. I'm actually going to put another little guy over here. One you can barely see, but I'm just going to put some color back there for the most part, and maybe even a little one here. So I'm getting a lot of color back here, but I want them to be, I want these trees just almost be ghost trees, okay? So this is a nice ghosty tree back here. I like it. Okay, this guy could be a little bit more ghosty. Ghost trees. I think they came up with a new species of tree here. Ghost trees. Okay, so the more kind of white I kind of put it on them, the more they're fading into my background a little bit more. Okay, so here are my ghost trees. Okay, here they are. So now I have these greener trees over here, and there's not a whole bunch of, it's not a whole bunch of detail on those either. Okay, and at this point, I'm going to, before I put in these background trees over here, I'm actually going to put in indications for where these trees are going to go, because I don't want to have to paint over dark green trees. Okay, so I'm going to take the excess paint off of this brush, because this is the one I want to use. I'm going to swish it around in my water and then clean it again. Now, the reason that I'm taking a little bit of extra care to clean it is because I'm going to use just kind of white paint to figure out where I want my trees. Okay, so these are the trees that I'm talking about. These trees right here, these two. Okay, so I'm going to figure out where I want them. Okay, and I think I want them at this first ridge, which is right over here. Remember when I was getting my brush and doing that? So I'm going to put my brush in the white paint, okay, and I'm going to make a tree that goes all the way up my canvas, all the way up, okay? Here I go, all the way up the canvas, so I know exactly where my tree is going to be. So let me see if I did it straight. All right, so this is a guideline. Okay, and I'm making it about as thick as I want my tree to be. Okay, so here's one. Okay, can you see that? See that little tree? I'm going to put another one beside it here. And again, the idea is to not have to kind of really draw over a dark green patch of trees. So this one comes a little bit further down, And there's not a whole lot of space in between these two trees. So I'm going to make it kind of moving it around a little bit because I don't want them like totally straight. Also, this tree is a teensy bit thinner, okay? So I'm gonna go a teensy bit thinner. I'm coming down the hill a little bit on the bottom here, okay? So I'm looking at these trees here and just giving myself an idea of where I want these guys to go. Voila. Okay, so there's my two trees. Okay, I'm all done. No, kidding. All right, so now that I have my two trees here, okay, I can go ahead and put in my darker trees, and I'll still know where these trees are going to be. So let me, once again, I'm cleaning off my brush, having some hot cocoa, which is now warm cocoa. Luckily, it does not lose its pizzazz. Right. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to use this, all right, the same thing I used for these back trees, not dark trees, back trees. Okay. And I'm going to pick up my green like so and put it in there like so. And then I'm going to pick up some of my brown and put it in there. So I get a nice rich brown color. Now, if in fact you don't have brown, remember, you can just add some red to it. That will do the trick. Okay, I am going to trim these trees. Okay, so this one I'm actually going to add a little bit more green to it. I think I want it greener. Okay, so I'm going to take this green and let me think. Okay, it's kind of a milky green, which I'm not kind of liking too much. So I'm cleaning my brush off and kind of going with the green again. And my brown. I have brown. And actually, what you can do is you can pre-mix and make your browns and whatnot ahead of time and put them in like airtight containers, and that will save you some time with mixing. The good part about mixing your colors is that you get a color that you really like, a shade you really like. So a lot of artists mix their own. So I mean, I might use like a green here and then mix some brown into it. So I'm using the green and the browns from the containers. But a lot of artists just kind of mix their own. Like they mix their own shades and colors. Like maybe you want to put a little blue in there. Maybe you want a little white, but that was a little bit too light for me. So I'm going to go ahead with this. Okay. So let's see what it looks like. Let's see what happens here, because right now we have a very light, snowy picture. Okay, so I'm gonna take this and we have some brown trees here. Let's go ahead and do this tree, which comes up to about here. So make a guess yourself, and then put in your tree, which comes down to there. Okay, so it's coming down to where I made my white hill type of thing down here. Okay, so now I know where this tree is going. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and very carefully, especially up here, right? Because again, you don't want to make it so thick up there that it looks like a tube instead of a tree. Right? So just kind of dabbing our tree in. And it's a lot easier to dab in I don't know what kind of trees they are. Evergreens, and I think these are pines. So easier to kind of put them in if they're like a pine tree. I mean, an evergreen tree is maybe easier. Okay, so I'm going to, and this little guy is going to go off the side of my canvas. Okay, so he's over here. We can see a little bit of snow through here. Okay, so here's my tree. Come out a little bit more over here and here. Okay, and again, we want that nice and thin up there. Okay, so here's a tree, all right? I also am going to go ahead and put in this tree and these trees. I'm actually going to not do these guys first because I want to put in these brown trees in here. But these guys can go in. So again, I'm going to figure out where my tree ends, which is right about here. And then I'm going to kind of make this, but only come down to the top of your hill. All right, so remember where your hills are and um, work it in that way. All right, so this tree, let's go ahead and put let's go ahead and put this guy in. And he actually is a little less detailed because he just kind of goes right off the sides here. So again, I want to stay kind of at the top of my mountain here, my hill. Okay, so I'm just double checking, make sure I get everything in the right place. Okay. And this little guy up here. Okay, even if you have to use a smaller brush, use a smaller brush. Okay, so I am gonna kind of go through this tree, that white tree, but then I'm gonna also go ahead, dip a little, I'm gonna dip my Q-tip in just a little bit of water and then just take that off of it. Okay, because we want the background street to look natural enough, but I don't want a heavy buildup where my trees are going to go. Okay, so I'm going to do another tree. There's a little one right beside it. I need a smaller brush for that. Let's do this one. Okay, so again, this is kind of coming down the hill, and this brown tree might actually be in front. I'm gonna take a little bit of a smaller brush just for this top here. Okay, good, good, good. All right. And again, I'm not going to try to avoid my white trees because I want this tree to look very natural. Okay, and it is kind of going down the hill here. Okay. Once again, a little bit of water. Clean off my white tree just a little bit, like that. Okay. Okay. And these want to go like right behind here actually, because there's lots and lots of trees back here, lots and lots of trees. Okay. Like I said, they don't necessarily have a lot of detail going on there. Okay. So put in your trees. Right. As you're going along, you'll get an idea anyway for where everything goes. Okay. give us a little bit more green in between our big trees here, and come up a little bit here, kind of go here. All right, so what might have been a good idea is put those trees in first and then wipe them out, maybe. Maybe we'll do that next time around. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put in this. I want another one there. This one actually should be just a teensy bit higher. Let's put one back here. Okay, so I've kind of switched to the smaller brush here. I'm going to go back here with this one. Okay, and then I'm going to kind of switch over to the bigger brush to get the bigger branches in. Okay, and we're going to kind of put that one behind over there. Okay, so we have another little guy over here. Let's put him in. Voila. Okay. And they're kind of going down the hill here because we have another little guy over here. Okay, and kind of in front of this one. So I'm still, you know, if you want to switch to a smaller brush, switch to a smaller brush. Okay. So let me look straighter. I'm painting sideways and I just kind of feel like this tree is leaning this way a little bit. So let's put it up here. So if you put in drunken trees, everyone's going to think there's not really cocoa in your in your cup. So, okay. So there are a bunch of little guys way back here as well. Okay, there's a little tiny one over here, right? And some looks like some branchy kind of things going on over here. And I think the switch actually, you could either switch to your detail brush, the one that we kind of took all the hairs out of, okay, to go ahead and do these little tiny guys. The cool thing about these little detail brushes is that you do have a lot of control. Okay, so there's some kind of green, tweedy looking things going on way at the bottom here. So I'm just getting my brush and just kind of flicking it up. Let me get a little closer here. Okay, so I have this over here. I'm just kind of flicking the brush here, right? And let's see, let's clean off the paint here. And let's do, there is one more kind of biggest tree, like right here, like on the other side of this background tree. Okay, so I'm going to clean my detail brush, put it aside for now. I'm going to take my medium-sized brush and fix this tree, which is not, which was not where I was going. I'm going to take the corner of my brush up here and just kind of get that out of there. Ta-da! Okay, you learned it here, folks. Use the back brush to bring some of these up. Okay, so just do a little finishing touches here. So the next one I'm going to do is right here. All right, and like I said, it's kind of here. Yes. Yeah, it's actually just about the tip there. I'm coming out here. And again, keeping an eye on my snow line, my snow uh, hill in there. Okay, and again, just tap these trees in. These, this, in all the tutorials, and again, I apologize for, always kind of saying the same thing, but if this is your first tutorial, you will need to hear that if I am going too fast for you, um, go ahead and slow down or stop the recording. Okay, if it's on TV, you probably could pause it if you're watching it on YouTube. And I do have all the YouTube links. So if you're missing one, like even from the past, you say, oh, I wish I saw that. Just let me know which one you want. I will email it to you. I'll text it to you. My number is 978-807-7608. So you can watch them actually anytime. Okay, and Ron at DATV has them being aired on a schedule. So if you can obviously watch them there, but if you for some reason don't get on there or not able to see it when it's being aired, you can always get the YouTube links. These are all uploaded to my YouTube channel. Okay, these also air on Great Havel Aunts Association's website, Facebook, BATV actually airs them as well. So there's a lot of opportunities to see them. So by all means, absolutely. Okay. So now, before we actually put in these little brown trees, let's go ahead and put a little bit of highlight on these green trees. Now we don't want them to really show up a lot because our focus is here on these two birch trees. This is all background work, okay? So, but we want to put a little bit of a different kind of green on there. I'm going to add a teensy bit of yellow to my plate. And actually, I have some on my other plate. See, no cognitive decline here. Kidding, kidding. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of this yellow, yellow, Crisafella. Okay, where is it? All right, there it is, there it is. So I'm going to take this little bit of yellow, right? I'm going to put it over here. I'm not putting it right in the green because I want to see how bright it actually makes it. All right, because even though I want to put a little bit of accent in here, I don't want, like I said, I don't necessarily want to make those trees show up more. Okay, so I'm not seeing anything going on with that. So I'm going to go to my lighter green here and see what that looks like on the trees. And that actually looks a lot better. Okay, so let me show you up close. Okay, see that right there? Right there. Get it in the camera better. So I'm just kind of tapping on some of the branches here. And this is with my lighter green here. Okay, so I'm just giving a little bit more interest to those trees, okay, but not so much that it's going to pull my eye away. Okay, so just a little bit of highlight on my trees because we do want them to look kind of frosty. Okay, let's see if I can get this closer for you. Any closer, and you're going to be sitting right on the canvas here. And again, trying to paint kind of sideways here is a little bit of a challenge, but I can handle it. Okay. Okay, so just a little bit on its branches. And people will not sit here and go, oh my goodness, look at that on this branch. But it makes it just visible enough some on these branches. I'm kind of really liking that. Okay, so let's put some here. Let's drop some over here. So it's kind of like on the tops of the branches. And what I'm finding is because it's the same color that we used for these trees back here, really tying in nicely. Okay. So let's, okay. Don't forget to sit back and kind of take a look here and just kind of go, oh yeah, okay, that's okay, that's not too bad. Or maybe you look at it and you want it to be darker or lighter or something on that idea. So go ahead and play around with it. So these tutorials, we try to keep them to 2, 3 hours tops. Okay, so a fun and paint or wine and paint would be about that long, and these are kind of the subject matter that I would choose, something that's not too taxing. Okay. So what I was getting at is that you don't have to do them all in one sitting. You can actually pause this and save it and finish it another time. And what I find that people are doing, which I think is extremely cool, is that they're having their own like fun and paint parties, and they're like watching this on YouTube or on DATV or BATV or GHAA, and they're having their own wine and paint parties or fun and paint parties, depending on where you are. If you're doing a teenagers type of thing, then you might not. You want to have a fun and paint, not a wine and paint. Okay, so I'm kind of liking that. If in fact you find that you have too much, go right back into your dark greens over here and just give it a little bit of dark green. If you went too heavy in any of the places, and even though I don't necessarily feel I went too heavy, this one, as it's in front of this tree back here, I think it wants to be seen a little bit more. Okay, so I can do that. Remember that you are the creator here. Okay, if you decide you want more trees, you put in more trees. You decide you want less trees, you put in less trees. You are the creator. So you're going to put in whatever your heart desires. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my white and a little bit of bluish, grayish stuff going on in here. And I want to kind of re-wet my snow here. And any brushes that you're not using, put in your water. See, I have a relatively clean piece of paper towel. So I actually have more than one bowl of water here. So I have a first bowl that gets the bulk of the paint that's on the brush. And then I have a second and third bowl. The third bowl, the water should be relatively clean, even though you dip a brush into it, because the first two bowls kind of get all of the paint. Okay, so you don't have to have 3 bowls of water. I do it so I don't have to take time out of the video to clean the brushes. So I use 3, and at this point, kind of I had it now. Okay, so I want some black. Where are you, black? Okay, so I'm going to use my white and my blue, and then I'm going to put a little bit of black in here, just to kind of give it a little bit of a grayish tone. Okay, so I just need just a dot of black on your palette. Close up the paint good so it doesn't dry up on you. Okay, so now this is what I have, and I have room on this guy. Maybe not. Okay, so I'm going to take this white and bring some down here because I want to leave a little bit of pure white there. Matter of fact, maybe I'll just put it right here, okay, I want to add some blue to this corner. Now, look how blue that is. Okay, so I'm going to dip my brush in the black, and now I'm getting a grayish bluish color, all right, which is more what I had in mind. Okay, so don't forget to do your edges, right? So I'm really looking at this now and getting that colors in here. We have a little bit going here and here. Let's come down here a little bit with this. And again, I want this to come right here, around here, okay, and then just a little there. So I'm just kind of laying down the color. Okay. And now I'm going to clean this brush, just not with water, just take the excess off. And then I'm going to kind of work in my areas here. I'm adding just white to my brush. Okay, so just white here. And then I'm taking this grayish, bluish color here and making the color that we want here. Okay. Right. So I want this snow to kind of look like mounds of snow into here. Okay. So I'm going to take this and whiten this area just a little bit and add some white paint to this. And like I said, these are relatively wet, but if you're the type of person that works slow, okay, you'll want to get some of this blending work done while it's still wet, if possible. Okay. And up these sides, get some of this done in here. Using just white over here. Right, I want this little mound of snow up here and behind my trees actually. Because don't forget my trees. I'm all the way down to here. Okay. So this and this white. Okay. So I want a couple of snow mounds into here. See that? A little bit of snow mound going on here. A little bit going on over there. A little bit over here. A little bit of blue over here. Okay. So again, bear with me. I'm painting while I'm holding the canvas up in the air. Okay, painting right through my trees at this point. Okay. So the little bit of green that was on them, I can go ahead and cover that. Okay, so this stuff wants to be all kind of snowy, good stuff going on here. Let's get a little bit more black going on here. Okay. Okay, so this is to give yourself some hills, certainly. A little bit of happiness going on in the snow. Okay. Happy, happy. There we go. Let's do. Okay, so you will want to experiment with this a little bit. And as I say, your stuff doesn't have to look like someone else's. We're using this as a kind of a guide, if you will. But it's actually nicer if it ends up being your own work. Okay. So I actually would like this a little bit smoother up here. So I'm going to take some white Just a little smoother here. So where before I was really just kind of mushing and brushing this on here, take a little bit more time up here. Just get some snowy areas. Right here, we want a little bit of a snow area here. So one here. Okay, that looks pretty cool to me. Okay, I'm gonna do a little bit more up here maybe. Okay, all right, so let's take a look and see what we got. So maybe I'm thinking let's flatten this guy up a little bit more. There we go. Oops. Okay, so we want snow here and here. Okay, so a little texture on the snow is kind of cool as well. And I don't mean to keep going back up here, but I'm seeing something there that I'm not crazy about. Okay, so now I'm going to just, once again, I do not quite want all of that blue in there. So let's go back to our white. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow and my red. Okay, it's going to give me kind of an orangey color here, right, which I'd like to put up and through here a little bit. Draw some of this down. My trees are going to come way down here. So let's put some over here as well. Okay, so we're just looking for a little bit more color here. Okay, so now I'm going to take this brush here and I'm going to go back into some of my darker green, right, which is, I'm going to take more of this brown and just kind of mix it into some of this green here. And I think what I would like to do is drop some of these trees just a little bit because I kind of wanted them to go down the hill here a little bit more. Okay, and these this way a little bit. So just adding more tree line, if you will. Okay, and these can come here like this. Okay, and let's bring this tree line all the way down here. There we go. Because this looks good over here. We're just a little high here. All right, that's this down here a little bit more. There we go. There we go. Got a little bit more snowy stuff going on right in through here. That part looks okay to me. This part looked like it needed a little bit more pizzazz. So pizzazz, we get it. All right. So I'm going to take medium brush. Yeah. Actually, this might be a little smaller than my medium brush. And I'm going to continue. Okay, so maybe we're going to let that dry a little bit, I would think. I'm thinking. Okay, so I'm going to take some of my brown and put in a little bit of land mass here. Okay, so if you look at your handout, there's not a whole bunch, but there's just a little bit of land mass going on here. And it actually has a little bit of orange going on over here as well, or gold. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit here. I'm going to drop some of my trees again here. All right, and look at that's a really crooked tree here. Okay, so where is my little tree? There you are. Okay, and let's straighten this guy out once for all here. There we go. Voila. Okay. So let's get some snow going on over here and a little bit in the background. Now this is a little bit of a deviation from what you're looking at, but I'm thinking I need this back here. All right, and we can get a little bit more snow moundy stuff going on here. All right. All right, so I'm going to get a little bit of orange, which I thought I had taken out. And if you do not have orange, what makes orange is red and yellow. And if you drop it on the floor, like I just did, you'll need to go pick it up. Okay, so let's take a quick pause here for a So I think we might be ready to do there's these little brown, skinny little tree things going on here. There's some in front of here too. So if you can see them clearly, fine. If you don't want to put them in, that's fine as well. I'm actually going to just dip, I dipped my paintbrush in the water just to make my brush wet. And then I'm going to go a little bit into my brown and then into this watery kind of brown here, which is actually looking kind of gray. Maybe I did not clean my brush very good. So I'm going to re-clean it here and do the whole process all over again. Wet the brush and still coming out kind of gray, which means I am doing a really poor job. So I'm going to take a few minutes and just clean this really well. Okay, let's try it. Third time's a charm and look. Ta-da! Okay, so now into my brown here. Okay, and I'm making it kind of watery because I want this to kind of be thin. It's just kind of a shadow of a tree here. So I'm going to hold this hand like this and lean this hand on here, holding the brush like sideways like this, and I'm going to place my tree, at least the thick part of it, like right here. And that actually might even be too thick. So let's try an even thinner. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just take a Q-tip because this actually is extremely wet as well. Okay, so I'm just going to actually dip the Q-tip in here and give myself a little tree. Okay, and so this is all I'm doing here is making these little tiny thin kind of trees, and they do come all the way up. So I'm going to switch to the detail brush here. And let me see, I'm going to put that color there. I'm going to actually turn this picture upside down and draw my trees this way. Okay. And I'm going to bring them almost all the way up to here. But they're going to get really, really thin because I have these really thin, let me see if I can show you as I'm going along. I have these really kind of wispy, thin little guys going on there. Right there. Okay, so let's take another one here and bring it up here. And these don't, they do not have to be um, totally straight. As a matter of fact, they're really not straight. They have a lot of little branches that kind of go off to the side here. So I actually am no longer even looking at my picture. I'm actually just making these little strands that come out like this and like that. Okay. So I'm going to take a glance over there and see that again, this comes up quite high here. And now it has this little bristly kind of look to it. Okay, can you see that going on over here? I'm actually going to add a teensy bit, I think, of orange to it. Give it a little color here. Just a little. Oh yeah, that does the trick. Okay. Okay, so they're right there. Kind of long and thin. Wispy for sure. And I do apologize that I actually need to kind of hold this in my hand to get it in there the right way. Okay, so a little bit on the wispy side, and I'm really thinning out the paint quite a bit. Okay, so let's take a look over here. There's about 3 of those, and this one's kind of crooked. Let me see if I can straighten it out somewhat. So if I run out of paint on the brush, I get this kind of grainy look. So I just re-wet the brush and then redo that limb. Okay. Right, so that kind of has to happen there. And that's not too bad. Okay. Let's get a little bit more. They're even stringier up here. Kind of like this. And like this. Okay. So I actually think I'll stop there. There's such a thing as overworking your work and overwork your work. Okay, but there are 2 more over here, and there's actually some way over here. So you can be as detailed certainly as you want. I kind of like the idea of having some in here. I'm going to put them in. And again, very, very kind of thin things going on here. And strands and branches. Okay, so very, very light here. Well, I don't know if you can hear that, but my dryer just stopped. And I hope that you didn't hear that through the whole tutorial. You get so used to hearing certain things, you become desensitized, I believe is the word. Okay, so I like that over there, right there. Okay, I'm gonna put a couple more over here just to kind of break this up a little bit. Okay, and again, these are kind of really thin over here. Have some branches coming off the sides. Okay, so these are actually just little kind of wispy guys here that we're not putting a whole bunch of thought into. I mean, other than shape, certainly. So I'm not really fussing with it, I guess is the correct word. I just kind of want to break those babies up just a little bit. There's a few more down here. That'd be kind of cool to get in. And I think I'm going to go with one more right here. Okay. Thicker, a little bit thicker at the bottom. Very watery. And there's some really tall strands here. It's like, oh, here's one that comes out the side a bit, which looks a little bit more natural. And let's see. This, it comes like this and like this. Okay. Let's bring this one up, over. Okay. I'm thinking that's enough. Okay, so I'm going to put a few loose strands down here. Okay. Going to clean off my little detail brush. Have some almost cool now. Oh, what did I do with that little cup? Oh, there he is. There he is. Okay. So before I lose it, let me put this back on here. Like so. Now I can have that. Okay, so we're going to kind of leave these in the foreground here because they do kind of break up some of these green masses a little bit. All right, and now we're ready to do our birch trees. I think I want to put my birch trees on. Break this up just a little in here. Just a little, these guys look okay. All right, ready to do our birch trees. So let's go ahead and a nice clean brush because we do want to go over the white again because now all we really have on here is guide trees. It is guide trees here. So I want to have a clean brush and I'm going to redo, okay, my birch trees here, and actually maybe even want to turn this sideways here, okay, and do the top even. Okay. All right, so we want browns, blacks, and orange. Browns, blacks, and oranges here. Okay, so I'm going to kind of hold on to this and I'm going to get a little bit of my brown here. I'm going to add a little bit of my black because I want that to be relatively dark down there. Okay, so towards the bottom, let's turn this way around because our bottom is pretty dark here. So let's take this and just kind of work some of this in here. Okay. I'm actually going to do the other one at the same time. So I want some color in here. Okay, gonna come up my tree. This side over here. Let's bring this in. Okay, bring it across, in. Okay, so we want to work the whole tree. Don't just do like a piece here and I mean a piece there. You kind of are, but you know what I mean? Don't just do one whole tree and then say, uh-oh, now how am I going to make the other one look like this? Okay, so my white is still a little wet on here, which is okay with me. Okay, so let's get some color on these viddas so they look like trees. Okay, now I'm gonna flip them over once again and get some color here. And again, I'm gonna go back to this brown a little bit here and get some of this. This is a really dark brown, which is a-okay. We don't mind that. Okay, and pull some of that. Pull some of that around the side of the tree. Okay. Looking for texture here. Bring it round. So we're starting to really be able to see our trees here. And I actually would like this brown to be a little bit lighter. So I'm going to mix some of the orange in here. And that's going to give me some of these orange patches that I'm kind of seeing in here. This is actually a nicer brown for me. I like this brown. Okay, let's go down here. Okay, side and pull, side and pull. Okay, give us some color in our tree. And I'm liking it with the orange in it. Mucho better. Let's get this going here. Add a little bit of this orange up here and here. You can always, it's always easier to kind of go darker if you need to. You need to add some darker patches. It's relatively easy to do. And also with acrylics, it's actually also pretty easy to make them lighter, which my students will tease me to no end about. What do you mean lighter? You always do darker. Okay, let's get some color. Looking for some color in these trees. Okay, we're getting there. So I'm going to dip into the white and start dragging some of this across here. There we go. Oh, I got some green in there. Let's leave it in there because actually it looks quite good. It's kind of a grayish green color, which is pretty much going on in these trees. Okay, so let me clean the green off of there. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and look at this tree here. I'm going to dip into my white and bring my white across. Again, I'm going to turn this kind of this away. Right, so this is all brownish down here. So this way we can really get a nice textured look to our trees. This is kind of cool. Okay. just pulling the brush across the tree bark here. So we're not obliterating all of the color underneath it. Here, pull it across a little bit. We want some dark, some light. There we go. Okay, I'm going to move to the other tree and get a little bit of white in here. And again, I'm kind of pulling it across the tree. Right, so again, kind of really looking at the handout here. So it gives me an idea of just how much really white I want on there. Okay. So I'm going to take a look at my trees now. Okay, this is what they look like. And now I'm actually going to put them the other way. Okay. And to this side. Okay. Again, I'm just want to get some of the white patches in there. There we go. All right, so we have some really dark areas here, but we also have some really light areas. Some of the light goes all the way around. Some of it does not. Okay. So we want to obviously make your trees look tubular. Okay, we don't want a flat tree. Okay, and the way that we do that, of course, is by whenever you see anything that really is round like this, it's always a teensy bit darker right around the edges. Okay. So I'm going to lift here these. Once again, give myself maybe a little bit more white here and there. Some here, kind of little pieces of white that go all over here. This is pretty brown down here. This across here. Okay, and you can play around with these trees. You can play around with them as much as your heart desires. Okay. I am going to clean this off and dip into my brown a little bit through here, and actually put a little bit more color here. There's actually a little bit of orange kind of going on here, and I'm not sure about the kind of orangey colors here, but I know that I like it. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there and just kind of have it going down this hill a little bit. Okay. And there's definitely some on our trees here. Let's put it in. Some on the ground here and here, which if it's supposed to be shadow, I might want to add a little bit more brown to it. There we go. That actually looks better, doesn't it? Okay. Let's put a little bit here too, and a little bit here. All right. Not too shabby. Let's go with a little bit more brown around this base. Okay, so really kind of pulling the paint at this point, pulling the paint around. looking good. Let's get this guy over here. Let's get some of the green out of there, Joan. There we go. That's cool. That's kind of cool too. Let's get this guy in. Okay, so we want to kind of maintain that there's white in here, certainly. Really liking the orange, really kind of gives us some nice color. Really pops it a little bit. Now we have some way up here, which is kind of nice. Let's put it a little bit brighter up here. There we go. That's better. There's a little bit up here. Okay, and again, you know, put it where you want it. Do that. Pull this here. Let's pull a little here. Okay, and I'm actually am pulling it. I'm actually running it along the side and then pulling it into my trees. Okay. Okay, going back to the brown just a little bit through here. Give us some nice color. Okay. So this is what we're starting to look like. Okay, I'm actually going to take a little bit of the black, just a tad of the black, and I'm going to put in some darker areas in here. Which it's really gonna pop our trees a little bit more. Okay, see those darker green black areas in here? I was gonna say green. Okay, so let's I'm gonna flip this over once more. Flip this over too. I'm gonna get a little bit of a black area in here and a little bit going on over here. Okay. So just give yourself a little bit to play with into here. I'm going to actually switch to that little brush again so I can get in some of the fine details here. Okay. So I'm still using the black, just using a smaller brush. Duh. All right. So the trick here is if you do something like get paint where you don't want it, okay, don't panic because the paint is relatively new. It comes off relatively easy, actually. Okay, so I'm just taking this around here. I'm going to smooth out some of this edge just a little bit and bring some lines across. And I will show you what I'm doing over here, just dragging some of those lines down. Okay, and what it does, it just gives my tree a little bit more texture. Okay, so let's drag you down a little bit more into here. There we go. Okay. So liking that. Okay, so let's do a little bit more. And drag. Okay. We like that little bit of drag going on there. Okay. That is looking awesomely good. Okay, gonna do a little bit more here. Got to do it. Okay, so let's smooth some of this out just a little over here. Voila. Good, 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 good. Bring you down here, just a tad. Let's get a little bit of black around here and here in our tree. I'm going to put a little bit of black down here. And do we just want to kind of draw the eye around here, I think? Down the base of this tree. And under this, we're going to make a little bit of a knot under this piece here. And let's get a little brown under here. There we go. Okay, so do a couple more here. All right, so I'm not being really neat here. I want these edges to look a little bit jagged, right? You're going to find that nature's perfection is in its imperfection, and it's kind of neat. Okay, like this. Right, so in a lot of places, just adding the smallest touches of blacks and browns and grays. So a little bit of everything going on here. It makes it very interesting indeed here. Okay, let's block that off just a tad. And I think this can actually come up a little bit. Nice. Okay, so actually kind of liking that as is. But I'm thinking the finishing touches are going to be these little branching things that come up here. See them coming off the trees? All right, so those, let's do them brown and black, and then we'll get some snowy stuff going on over there, okay? Okay, so this one can come right up out of here, and I'll show you unamente what I am doing. Here, I need to water this down just a little bit so that it moves a little smoother. Just come here. This. Right. So this is coming right off the tree here. See it right there? So I'm going to make a few more of those, and as those are drying, we'll put on a few more here. And I know that they look white in the picture, and they are, but we're going to put a little bit of snow on them because I'm relatively sure that that's what's going on there. Plus, some of the branches are that color as well. So let's just get some branch work done here. So this is what I have so far. Okay, so again, use your smallest brush And if you don't have a detail brush, do yourself a favor and make yourself one, because you'll find them invaluable for this type of work. We have one branch that's coming across both these trees like this, and down here, this. And again, these branches kind of make the whole. I mean, the trees are cool anyway, but these branches really make things interesting. Okay, so I have a big stem coming up this way, right? And if you're like me, you're going to find that your branches are not going to look exactly like these branches, which again is a-okay. So I'm actually going to have this branch come right off of here, and it's kind of really ziggy-zaggy, and again that kind of adds to its charm a little bit. I'm going to use another branch coming up here, I think. Kind of does one of these, and over here. So let me do this. I'll show you again so that you really get an idea for what's going on here. Okay, see this branch here? And it's coming off this part of the tree, right? So let's do some coming from here. Okay, we have, let me see, got a little guy coming up here through here. Let's go ahead, put this one on. Right. And these actually are a combination of browns and blacks. So feel free to mix and match here. And I want this one to come right off this side of the tree here. Okay, so you can have a look up close. And this one that I really kind of want to work on a little bit. Let me see if I can hold the canvas while I'm doing it. Okay, so I'm really putting these really tiny, skinny little lines on it. Okay, let's do another one up here, like this, and one up here. And if you haven't guessed already, I've kind of gone rogue and doing my own thing here a little bit. I do want to kind of look at the picture to make sure you get some little guys going on over here. And from the other side of the tree, because it looks like this big tree is extending its branches like behind the other tree here. So it's quite a few. Let's see here. There we go. This, I tease my students and tell them if they will do all of the background work, I will go ahead and do all of the detail work. To me, this is like the funnest part. Okay, so let me see here. Do I need any more? I have one going across here, one going behind that tree, actually, which is kind of cool. So let's put it behind there. Okay. And then the challenge comes in. We have to try to remember what you did, what's supposed to go in front, what's supposed to go in back, and hopefully you remember what that is. Okay, we have some more kind of down here. And again, don't forget to kind of stand back and really kind of look at these because um, many times students will just really like what they're doing, and I totally love and appreciate that. But it's like you can get carried away so easily. Um, so you want to stand back, look at it, and say, okay, am I getting too many branches in here? And I am getting to a point where that could be the case. So I am going to go ahead and stop. Okay. Now, what I want to do is some of these branches are either white or they have snow on them. Okay. So I want to add some white, but I still want to see these little tiny black areas under here. All right. So I'm going to dry it slightly. Doesn't have to be totally dry, but on the other hand, you don't want it to, it doesn't have to be um, totally dry, but we don't want it to be wet either. We're going to have to end this video soon. I believe I might have cocoa. That would be a correct assumption. Okay, going into pure white, still using my smallest brush, and I'm going to put some white. Oh, you're going to like this. Okay. Okay, see that right there? A little bit of white on top of that. How exciting are you? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to start down here because this is where I started to begin with. So I'm hoping that some of this will be dry enough. For, oh yeah, awesomeness. Kind of makes a big difference here. Let's swing around and do the top of this guy. Okay, and then down here, like so. I said like so, and then nothing came off the brush. All right, this. And so see, we're getting some nice highlights in there, which is extremely cool. I'm cleaning up, just putting the paper towel over the brush because, like I say, acrylic paints dry relatively fast, so they can actually build up on the brush itself. So instead of getting a fine line, you get a clump. All right, and you may not want a clump. I do not want a clump over here. So I actually would like some fine lines. Okay, and this is it. Okay, let's get that off there. Oh, here's one actually in front of my tree. Going here. All right, so some of these branches are coming from like this tree on the right and going behind the tree on the left. So this highlight that's on here helps kind of cement that idea. Okay, see where the highlight is here, and then this branch comes from over here and extends behind this tree. Okay, so putting your highlights and snow and stuff in the right places is going to help uh, define your picture and where things are going in your picture. Okay, and again, don't let the paint build up on your brush, especially if you're trying to get some fine lines going on here. There we go. And this one moves right past my tree and onto here. This one goes up here. Very cool. Okay, let's bring this one up here and over here. Here, this one Okay, let's clean this brush a little bit. If your lines start getting a little unmanageable, or the paint on the brush is not flowing as smoothly as you want it to, then clean off your brush. Um, you can thin down your paint a little bit if you want to, especially if you're doing fine work like this. You actually need your brush, your paint to flow smoothly. Okay, there we go. And when it doesn't, you'll be amazed at how tough it makes things. Okay, so this is coming out of here. So we're going to bring this here, this, and here, go right here. Nice. Okay. See, if you need any more, I'm going to get a couple more up here. And again, don't forget to kind of stand back a little bit and take a look. We don't want this to look like Medusa's head, the Medusa's head. Okay, we don't want it to look like a bunch of snaky things going on here. We want it to look like tree limbs, kind of going their own way, tree limbs, but definitely tree limbs. There we go. Ah, baby, baby, can't you hear my heartbeat? Okay, so look at this, and kind of liking it, so I'm gonna leave it alone. Yay. Okay, so this, all right, we have some kind of grassy areas coming out of here, and they are definitely orange and brown. Okay, so I'm going to mix some orange and brown and even thin it out a little bit, I think, here. Let's see what we got. Let's try it and see. Okay, I'm resting this hand up against here. I have my bottom hand resting up against the easel, right? And then my painting hand is resting up against the hand that's on the easel. Okay, so I would like these little wispy things. There's a lot of little wispy things in this picture. Okay, so we're going to put them in because they look kind of cool. All right, so let's go here like this. And I need to wet this just a little bit in here. Okay, so these going on here are just kind of the same as what we had going on over on this side. Okay, so hold that thought just 1 second. All right, so this is what I'm doing. Like there's some stuff kind of peeking out through the snow area here. Okay, and some of it is kind of brownish, some of it is kind of orangey-ish. So I'm going to do a little bit of both, kind of bring it down the hill here. Ta-da. Let's do some more on this side. All right, so I actually would like to put a few more over here. So now's the time if you want to do anything like that, or if you wanted to, I actually see and like, there's a few coming off the picture, like way down here. Okay, they're just very small, wispy little guys, but it gives you the impression that you're standing over here and looking inside this picture. Picture. Okay, a little bit more orangey stuff going on over here, maybe. Let's get a little bit more here, and maybe even a couple here. And I do not think that we're going to do much more here. This looks very cool to me. Okay, let's add this down here a little bit. Okay, it's all right. When this is dry enough, sign your name to it. People always want to know where to sign their name. Okay, so typically, I usually go lower right-hand side, which would be over here for me. But there are times when it doesn't suit the picture to have something there. So I'll put it over here. I always kind of do it on the bottom. I never do it. I do bottom edges. I haven't ever signed it in the middle, but here and here, I've actually signed it over some of the artwork. Over here, you don't really have to because it's plain space. But if these trees came all the way down here, I would just sign it right over the trees. Don't sign it so dark or so much that it takes away from your picture. Okay, and adults, I don't have that much of an issue with adults doing that because they're like, I have one adult who's like, oh, I don't want to ruin the picture by putting my name on it or not putting my name on it in a picturesque way. Okay, so so she has. I'll tell you that she practices putting her name on the picture using a piece of paper and she'll wet the paint and try to get it just to the right consistency and so on and so forth. And then finally she'll put her name. But it takes a good half hour for this student to get her name on the picture. Now, kids are the other way around. They are so proud of themselves. They want the pictures, the signatures so big that you do not need to wonder who made those pictures. They made them and they're proud to let you know that they made them. To the point where I had a student win an award in one of our GHAA exhibits and the judge said, "This is a really good picture." She said, "The only thing that kind of detracts from it is the student's signature is so bright and so large that you're looking at the picture and the signature kind of pulls your eye there when you really don't want it to." So so I'm thinking to myself, okay, and this is an 8-year-old student, like, okay, how do you get this across to this student? So finally, I just said to her, look, I said, your work is really, really awesome. And the judge really, really loved it and felt that you needed to work on your signature a little bit more. So she's like, well, what do you mean? She says, I want everyone to. I said, I know you do. I said, but I said, depending on the size of your signature and, and the color paint that you use, I said you can actually pull the viewer's eye over to where your signature is, and then they're not looking as much at your picture. She said, oh, and I said, so. I said, that, I said, is a positive critique, I said, from the judge. He said, oh my God, your work is so marvelous. I want to give this person an award. But a really good judge is going to tell you like what was really good about the picture and sometimes what was not so great about the picture. Okay, so the student actually took it very well and was not hurt or anything like that. I thought she was going to be, and she actually was fine with it. Okay, so this picture, kitties, is Danzola. Okay, and when it dries, I'm going to I sign my work in a gold, metallic gold magic marker. Okay, so this picture is this picture. Let me see if I can get it on there right. Okay, this is done. Right, so this was a lot of fun to do, and it wasn't. And it does have quite a bit of detail when you get to the trees here. All right, but other than that, I mean, this was a really easy easy painting to do. So we put the white on the background first, okay, the white on the background, and then we brought in some pinks, and let's see if we can get this a little bit. Okay, so then we brought in some pinks and some yellows and whatnot, and kind of worked from the back forward a little bit. We got our trees in, our really faded background trees, and of course our birch trees over here. All right, and like I said, those little branches over. Oh, the camera. I'm actually opposite of the way you're seeing me, or you're seeing me the way you should be seeing me, but I'm seeing me the other way. Okay, so these branches, okay, these little branches on the tree really are the finishing touches on the trees. It really makes this kind of a cool picture. Okay, so if you want to do this picture and hang it on your wall or give it to someone as a gift, go ahead. Do not mass produce it and try to make megabucks from it, or you'll be in deep yogurt, all right? Or make at least three, most likely five really big changes to it so that you're not infringing on anyone's artistic rights, okay? So as far as like putting a finish on these, you don't have to. I like to put a Mod Podge on them or spray varnish, and that actually keeps them for a long time. I had someone bring me a picture, like it was 20 years old, and she said to me, "Can you fix this picture?" She said, it's like the paint yellowed a little bit. And I mean, it was a really old picture. And I said, I think I can do that. And I'm thinking to myself, I hope I varnished it. I hope I varnished it. So I got a little bit of varnish remover and did like a little bit like on the edge. And sure enough, I had varnished it. So I was able to remove all of the varnish and let it dry really good and then revarnish it again. I said, okay, I'll see you in another 20 years. Okay, so varnishing does preserve it. You can buy a matte kind of varnish, or you can buy a glossy one if you like a lot of bling. But you don't have to do anything to it. If you're kind of housebound, you can't get out of the house, I've said this before too, but you can actually, some of the really cheap old sprays, there's one actually called lacquer or varnish, and I got it at the dollar store. Do I have it here? You're gonna love this. This, okay, amplify volume, all day hold. Okay, this called Salon Selectives. And honest to God, I bought it because it's pink. And I like color pink. And it was only $1. I got it at the dollar store. And the first time I sprayed it on my hair, I mean, you could knock on my hair and I mean, it was hard and like trying to comb it was like, I'm like, okay, this might not be the best thing to put on my hair, at least not on my hair. It might work well on yours. Okay. So I was going to throw it out. And then I thought, you know what? If someone is kind of stuck in the house and they can't get out to like buy varnish or anything like that or Mod Podge, they could spray it with this and this would work. That would work really good. Okay. So, you guys borrow some cheapo hairspray from your wife because we always have some cheapo hairspray around just in case. Okay, so we have that there. So I want to say thank you. If you have any questions about this, about the paint, about anything, call me 978-807-7608. I am so happy when people send me pictures of their artwork. So if you've done this artwork and you want to text over a picture to me, 978-807-7608. If you want to email it, you can send it to Jonissa, Joan as in Nancy, S as in Stephen, A at Comcast.net. You could send it to Intuitive Body and Soul at Gmail, and I would get it there. So send me some pictures. Let me know what you're doing. Also, if you have questions or you want YouTube links to this one or some in the past that you maybe missed but would like to do, um, so go ahead and do that. And once again, I want to thank Miss Bethany at the Drake Council on Aging. She is the director there, and she is awesome, as is the rest of the team there. They're a very cool team. The center is still not open as of February 2022. It's being renovated, but the staff is in the Chelmsford Library, and the activities are in Christchurch United, 10 Arlington Street in Drake, okay, which is right next door to the library. So it's business as usual there. If you need them, call them, contact them, and if they can't help you, they will find someone who can. So thank you, Bethany, and the rest of the crew at the Drake Council on Aging. We also want to thank the Drake Cultural Council and the Friends of the Drake Elderly for helping to make these tutorials possible. Okay, so thank you everyone, and until next we meet, be legendary.